And hello, everyone. My name is Thomas, aka Mr. Wartburg. Welcome to the Box Office Shuffle. It's time for episode number 2. This week, our movie is Galaxy Quest, and I'm joined by my two co-hosts, Chris, aka Gamma Caruchador,
Yo.
and Joe, aka Joe.
Hey.
This week, we again, like I said, we watched Galaxy Quest. That was the spin that we did from Chris's movie list last week. In case you're watching this, if you've never seen our show before, what we do is we take our movie lists and our collections that we've accumulated over the years, both physical and digital, run them through a shuffler, and each week a different person picks from their list a movie for the group to watch and react and discuss about once we're done watching it. And we literally just got done 15 minutes ago rewatching Galaxy Quest with my Discord community. It was a good night. Got some pizza, grabbed a Mountain Dew, and watched an absolute classic sci-fi comedy. So the movie itself, just some basic details before Chris takes it away, because it's his movie, and again, one of his all-time favorites, was actually now almost 25 years old. On this Christmas, it'll be a 25-year-old movie. It was released December 25th, 1999. Director was Dean Parisot. I'm guessing the T's silent, but it could be not.
I believe so.
Because that sounds like a French last name. He also was a director who did Red 2, Bill and Ted Face the Music, Fun with Dick and Jane, which is another solid comedy.
I love that movie.
Yeah, it's
I
good
wish
comedy.
I had that. It's a good one.
And he also directed The Monk pilot, which is a tie-in with a cast member for this movie, Tony Shalhoub.
Oh.
Yeah, he was the
didn't know it was
lead
the pilot.
character of Monk. He did the pilot. A lot of directors who do Hollywood stuff, studios will bring them in to do pilots because the pilot is closer to a movie production because it's got the most money in it. It's also got the most time in it because they're trying to put all the pieces together for a series going forward. Mick G back in the 2010s, he was like the movie director everybody would go to for doing pilots. And this guy has done a number of TV stuff as well. So, yeah, that more or less is the basic gist. Now I'm going to turn it over to Chris to talk about one of his favorite movies.
I mean, like you said, it's one of my favorites. I believe, if I remember correctly, Wartburg had done another podcast, the Wafer Podcast, and on your last episode, you had a guest that you had on, which I was one of them, fill out a I think it was top 5.
Yeah, everyone give me your top
movies.
5s, yeah.
And I'm pretty sure I put Galaxy Quest in my top 5. Like, I love it that much. I mean, our mics were muted, but I was laughing out loud tonight at jokes that I've heard 100 times. I repeat lines from this movie all the time. But yeah, this is one of my favorites. I also recommend, it's not on Prime anymore for free, but there is a documentary that was made on it, on Galaxy Quest, in the last 5 years or so. I think
maybe
that's 20.
Is that the one that's included in the Never Give Up, Never Surrender Steelbook?
It might be,
because there was a re-release on Blu-ray in 2019 that I wish I'd bought because it had the Steelbook. I think it's in that.
That would make sense because the name of the documentary is Never Give Up, Never Surrender.
Yeah.
And it's a really good documentary. I remember watching it when it came out, and I watched Galaxy Quest right afterwards again. But it is one of my favorite movies. It's a star-studded cast as well.
Yeah,
you have
big cast.
Tim Allen, who in 1999 he was pretty big. He was doing Toy Story. He was doing Home Improvement. Home Improvement was massive at the time.
Oh yeah, one of the biggest shows on the planet.
Yeah, I mean, it's honestly, I still love that show. I see that it's on Disney Plus, and I might be starting.
My dad just did a whole rewatch.
It's so good. It's a great sitcom. But then you have Sigourney Weaver, who she's no stranger to comedy or sci-fi from Aliens and Ghostbusters. But then you have Alan Rickman.
Yeah.
R.I.P. But why is he in this movie? It should not. Tim Allen and Alan Rickman should not go together, but they do, and it's crazy how well it works. And then of course, we have Tony Shalhoub, We have
Sam Rockwell.
Sam Rockwell, who one of my favorites. I love everything that I've seen Sam Rockwell in, from Iron Man 2, which I actually just rewatched recently. I still need to see it, but The Men Who Stare at Goats, I've heard that's pretty good. And
It's in my list. It's funny. That's a solid,
like
weird comedy, but really fun.
Yeah.
If you can put up with Kevin Spacey, at least in the minimal amount he's in it.
True. But yeah, it's got a really star-studded cast, and his first ever credit, specifically on IMDb, and I believe just his first thing that he ever did, Justin Long. This was the first thing that he was ever in.
And it was also Rainn Wilson's first movie.
I was going to say, we got Dwight Schrute in here.
Mm-hmm.
Which was weird, because he was supposed to be in the movie a lot more. Because he got double booked on a show, this was pre-Office, but he was still in that NBC kind of world where they were casting him in some stuff, and he was on a pilot during pilot season, so like he was just kind of going back and forth, and he didn't have the time.
There's a lot of crazy stuff that came around with the making of this movie, like the feel of the movie from iteration to what we see now is completely different. It was meant to be an action movie, for sure. Tim Allen's part was supposed to be played by Alec Baldwin or somebody of the like. The original director was supposed to be Harold Ramis, and he didn't think that they didn't get Alec Baldwin, so when they got, I think there was somebody else that was up for the role, but I can't remember who. But once they landed on Tim Allen, Harold Ramis was like, I don't think Tim Allen fits the role, so he left, and that's when we got oh my goodness, what is the director's name? Dean Pariseau. He came in, and it was also supposed to be, you can famously see one of the biggest ADRs ever in a movie with Sigourney Weaver. But this movie was originally based to be an R-rated movie. Things changed. They wanted to, because they were releasing it in December, they wanted to...
Yeah, and it was going up against Stuart Little.
Yep. They wanted to go up against Stuart Little and make it PG in order to do so. So they had to ADR a bunch of stuff. So even early on in the movie, there's ADRs like all the way through.
Yeah. And from what I was reading, that seems like a very about like the time that First Pass was starting to get done on stuff. They're like, oh yeah, we should probably not make this, because like there's allusions to it, but you never actually see Tony Shalhoub's character do drugs. But he's acted as though he's stoned the entire movie. Yep. And Sam Rockwell has a line where he's like, "What are you, high?" Like they lampshade it, but you never see him do drugs, because if you see it, that upgrades the rating. So you never see it. Like they really were skirting the line of what they would have had she maybe dropped the F-bomb. They might have gotten an R rating from the MPAA, because this was a different time where like now we have, hey, you can get the 1 now. This was 1999, might have been a little different. They might have got the R rating. So
when did PG-13 become a thing?
I want to say that was after, because remember all the Don Bluth stuff from the animation was all PG. And like I remember that era was like, it's a weird like, hey, remember this is an 80s PG, shit gets weird. I can't remember when they more codified the language and drug use and
1984.
Yeah, it was mid 80s.
1984, which I do believe, like I remember seeing something about how it was PG-13 like after or around the time that the last Indiana Jones was coming out.
Yeah, because the Temple of Doom has the heart pull scene,
and that's PG, I believe.
Yep.
So
and the bugs.
Yeah, like that's right.
That always freaked me out.
Yeah, you go back to the day, back to Spaceballs. That's rated PG, and look at all the swearing in that. Like
yeah.
That's the difference between the old PG and what PG is nowadays. It's a little bit crazy.
It was not as stratified.
They were in that weird era of trying to figure out what these ratings really meant. But then other stories. So the guy who plays Mathazar, Enrico Colantoni,
he's Veronica Mars's dad.
Mars's dad.
That's what I first knew him. That's what I first knew him from. But he's in a lot of fun stuff.
Yeah. But like he did the audition for Mathazar, and then something you don't really see in interviews and such. He got the role from his first audition because of what he did with his cadence of speaking, like the way that he talks in the movie. He created that. It wasn't like the directors or anybody. The actor said, I want to try something, let me try something. They loved it. And so they played his audition tape for people like Rainn Wilson and Missy Pyle for their characters so that they could audition for a character like that, because they wanted to make sure that they could go along with that. And they did a thing, apparently. It's like, it wasn't as in-depth, of course, but it was like how they do now with the Planet of the Apes movies where they have Ape School. They had like Thermian School because they had to walk with their arms in the opposite cadence and such, that they had to like train their bodies to move their arms the way that our bodies don't move our arms when we walk. So like they had a school for that for a little bit.
Yeah, because it's a heck of a lot bigger cast than a normal TV show. Yeah. So you got to handle a lot more actors and crew, even just in the background.
Yeah.
Kind of like Zombie School too would be another, like for Walking Dead, they have Zombie School. If you're going to be a guest or a cameo thing, you have to go through Zombie School. But yeah, that was one thing I loved. And one of those actors, the doctor that first examines them after they get, all first teleported to the ship, he's like, I'm sorry, we didn't have our, image thing on. He becomes a recurring character on a Star Trek show. He plays Agent Crewman Daniels, who's an agent of the Time Bureau kind of thing for the Federation in the 31st century. And it's his name's Matt Winston. He got 8 episodes. And then his character actually just showed up again a few months ago in Discovery, one of the newer shows. Different actor, but same character. I thought, that was awesome. A neat little bit of synergy of just a kind of a cross sci-fi. Of course, someone in this cast was going to be on a Star Trek show eventually. And
right.
That was when it stuck out to me, oh my God, I forgot he was in this movie. Because Enterprise wouldn't come out for another 2 years, give or take. I think that was 2001. It was, no, it would have been 2000. So when did Enterprise premiere? Hang on. Am I misremembering? I was a kid, so...
Yeah. While you look that up, let's just go to the Star Trek thing. This is often cited by people as being one of, if not the best, Star Trek movie, which is crazy to think about, because it's not a Star Trek movie. No. There's actually, when you look at the ship model, there's a number, a ship number name on the side with the letters NTE, and it's supposed to represent not the Enterprise.
Nice. Yeah, because this would have been in an era where when did Voyager wrap? Because I think Voyager wrapped in 2000. Deep Space Nine wrapped before that, and then it was just Enterprise by itself. And once Enterprise wrapped, Star Trek was off air for the first time since, I want to say, was that 82 when TNG started? What year did TNG start? When did TNG air? 87. So from 87 to 2004, we had Trek on every single year. And so Deep Space Nine and Voyager were the contemporaries of the time. And just very different types of shows. Because this is more lampooning, I don't want to say lampooning, but kind of poking fun at a combination of TOS and the Next Generation. Because you got some crossover and just kind of sci-fi entertainment in general. Everything with Tony Shalhoub's characters is hilarious.
It's great. It's so great. Good. His humor in this is so
absolutely
so dry,
nails it.
And it's perfect. Like, it's crazy because they have such polar opposite characters that make you laugh. You have Tony Shalhoub, who plays this dry, not specifically stated in the movie, high character, who's just, I don't really care what's going on around me, and that's what makes it funny. And then you have Sam Rockwell's character, which is modeled after, which he said he modeled this character after the guy in Aliens, I believe.
I think it's Pullman's character, right?
Yes, Bill Pullman's character. Very
the game over, man.
And going
game
crazy.
Over.
Yeah. So, I mean, you have the whole scene of them landing on the planet, and Tony Shalhoub opens the door. What are you doing? Do you know if there's air out there? You don't know. And then Tony Shalhoub just goes,
"Seems good.
Seems fine to me." Like, totally doesn't give a crap, and the other guy's freaking out. Like, polar opposites, and they both hit in hilarity. It's just so perfectly done, to the point where, first of all, there were apparently a couple comics that were released based off Galaxy Quest, that were like Galaxy Quest comics. I don't remember when they came out or how long they ran or anything. But then also there was supposed to be a sequel, which was
multiple attempts.
Right.
One very recent.
The one that was very recent was actually very far into the process, and then they shut it down once Alan Rickman passed away. And
you're not even talking about the most recent one.
Oh, is there a more recent one?
Not a movie. They were Paramount, mostly because they're trying to do a series. Because they've got this great success with Strange New Worlds. They're like, wait a minute, what if we just did that with Galaxy Quest? And I didn't know, there's not been much said about if it was going to be based in, like, in-universe, like, with, like, the Thermians, or if it's going to be about, like, the actors making a show, which I think would actually be very fun. Because, like, The Offer, we talked about that our last episode with The Godfather, like, a show about making a show can absolutely work. You know, it's been done a few times, and I think that could work really well in the sci-fi space, because there's a lot of gold mine comedy in terms of, like, prop design, set design, and just, like, the weirdness of it all.
You could easily do something like 30 Rock, but for Galaxy Quest.
Exactly. That would be a great example. You know, a 10-episode little run there, get everybody back that you can. I think that'd be really cool. The issue is that I think was announced in August 23. Same director, like the whole production crew, everybody would be back, except obviously, you know, for Rickman. But with the Paramount merger with Skydance, I do wonder. Now, Skydance is already a partner. They've worked with them a ton on a number of their big IPs. You know, like the Mission Impossible movies, the new Star Trek movies. Like, Skydance is the production house for all of those. So, like, there's already a lot of synergy there. So I don't know how much the boat will be rocked by it. But obviously there's going to be some exec changes. So you wonder, do priorities shift, and does that continue to be made? Plus, is Tim Allen going to be free? Does he want to do it? Because he would be the bigger draw coming back to lead a series if he would in fact be the lead. So that's something to talk about too. But yeah, that was something I noted, and I was like, that was just from last year. So that'd be interesting to see if it come out. I didn't even
notice that one. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know the sequel was pretty much stopped because a lot of the people that were working on it, that were coming back for it, were just like, if there's no Rickman, it's just not as good. Like, it's just not Galaxy Quest without Rickman.
Yeah.
So it's definitely sad, but it's also crazy to think, because I believe that was around 2018, 2019 that that was happening. I think Rickman passed
2016.
It was 2016?
That's forever ago. Yeah.
It feels like sooner, but also farther away. But, like, if you think about that, at the end of the movie, they go, after 18 years, they're back. And, like, you could think that essentially that was 18 years after Galaxy Quest was made. So it was almost like parallel to what what the movie was. And the movie, I'm pretty sure it did not do well in the box office too much.
It basically made its money back.
Right.
It doubled what it...
But you got to count double for marketing, which they famously did not market much at all. The most that they looks like that they did in terms of creating awareness was, this is something I wish like the MCU would do. They made a mockumentary as though the series was real, and put that out on E Entertainment, E exclamation point the channel, as just like a 22-minute episode about this cult hit show that's coming back for a revival series, and that was their tie-in for the movie. Like, I would love have Daniel Pena or Pena be the host. Not Daniel. He's a ball player. The actor.
Michael Pena?
Yeah, Michael Pena. Be the host of a mockumentary for the MCU. It would be amazing.
That would be fantastic.
But yeah, that was something I can't believe that was included in one of the DVDs. I've never seen it. I want to watch it now though, because it looks fantastic. Because I own the Blu-ray that doesn't have a lot of the special features. You might have it.
No, it doesn't look like it.
Because it's on YouTube though, so you can find it on YouTube.
Oh yeah, it's definitely on YouTube. I mean, I remember the first time I watched this. I watched it on VHS.
Long time ago.
Like, I didn't see it in theaters. I saw it on VHS on vacation.
Yep.
In a cabin in Wisconsin. That's what I remember. I remember watching Galaxy Quest and Bruce Almighty for the first time on that vacation.
Two bangers.
Both great movies.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, this was an era where making your money back at home theater was completely fine. They didn't care.
Yeah.
It was like expected that it would. Especially among the sci-fi crowd. And it did very well. It's gained a very large cult following to the point where they Amazon, Netflix, Paramount, everyone's been like, hey, we should do a series or something. Do something with this because there's something to mine here. And they've never been able to do it. I do think if Rickman had not passed, I do think Amazon's series would have happened. Because that was right when they were trying to make their originals push back in 2016, 2017. When they were getting into the Prime Video game. And I think that would have been a great flagship series to kind of jump out the gate, do a sci-fi comedy. And it's right up their gate with what they would eventually do with Prime Video with all the sci-fi series that they've produced. I think it would have happened for sure. Because it just sure seemed like Bezos was a big fan of the project. Because that's when he was involved in the company back then, more than he was in the last few years before he kind of divested from everything. Anything else you want to touch on?
I mean, I think that's pretty much it. It's just one of the best movies, one of the best comedies. If you don't think it's the best movie, it's definitely among the best comedies. Yeah. It's just, if you're a nerd and you understand nerd culture, this is a movie for you because it's just
like
it
there's
just
so
understands us.
So much cool stuff. Like, I go back to Shaloub's character, the squinting. Joey, did you notice that? Get you involved here. His character, he just squints at the camera.
No, didn't notice that.
Okay, do you know why he's doing that?
No.
Okay, so he based it on David Carradine. He's an actor he was on Kung Fu. He's in the Kill Bill movies. He's like the mentor character for Uma Thurman. Like he trained her. But he's not Asian. In Kung Fu, he played an Asian character. I believe that was like in the mid-70s, and that was pretty common. And he put on a lot of, Asian stereotypical, like, mannerisms, even though he's not Asian. And so Shaloub was kind of aping that. And, because in canon, he's playing an Asian role. But he himself is not Asian. Okay. And so he's acting that out while acting also stoned. I thought was so good because you can see him really turn it on oh yeah, I'm supposed to squint because he's in the character. It's so good. And I love that they gave Alan Rickman more of the Picard kind of backstory where Patrick Stewart, famously theatrically trained actor, and famously was very standoffish on set for the first season and a half to 2 seasons of TNG. According to the rest of the crew, he didn't really hang out with them. He thought the show wasn't going to work. And it really wasn't until they started doing conventions that they were like, oh, this is a thing. People give a shit. Like, and that's when he started to buy in and like actually engage, more more emphatically with everybody in the crew and everything. And now they're all really, really great friends. And I love that they also married that with like Michael Dorn having to deal with the Worf makeup. Like, because
Yeah.
oh my gosh, LeVar Burton. He hated that visor because he literally could not see. Like, he's like, yeah, I can't act because I can't fucking see. like that whole everything with like that's a pretty common thing in sci-fi, especially with heavy makeup. It's just how much of a pain in the ass that would be for a TV show in a 22 episode era, where you're making 22, 26 episodes a year. That would just be soul crushing to have to deal with that every single week. And I love how they kind of put that all together with his character Grab, by what was the character's actual name? I remember Grabthar's hammer.
Dr.
Lazarus.
Yes, Dr. Lazarus. I was like, Thaddeus? No.
And like the prosthetic is like so over the top and yet also really well done. And then it gets worse as the movie goes along, like when he comes out and it's just like it's all disheveled, it's so
it's crazy to think, like, at the end of the movie, yeah, it's you could see hair of his poking through it, like it's starting to break. But he wears that in every scene he's in. Think about this. There's a scene where he's at home
in it.
And he's changed clothes.
So the implication
so
is he's doing it himself.
His clothes over.
Yeah.
And it's like right before bed. And he's like got a towel. It's like he just showered. It's like he wore it while he showered. And he's talking to Sigourney Weaver on the phone. And it's just like, why are you wearing this still? But he is. And he hates the character.
And it works so well.
It's so good.
And I love the fact that it's a comedy, yet it also knows its audience and respects its audience. Like the convention scenes. Or I think they're a little more... I think they'd be a little heavier-handed now. Because of how big Comic-Cons and such have become. Especially post-Big Bang Theory. But this was one, like... I always felt that, especially early seasons, Big Bang could kind of punch down at nerds. And the nerds were the joke. Not that there's jokes about nerds. There's a difference there, and I thought they eventually would get better at that. But this movie absolutely understood, like, now you can make fun of the stupid shit, but, like, people do actually care, like, I really thought they captured that really well, because without those conventions, sci-fi as we know it does not exist. Because Star Trek was canceled. And it wasn't until those convention circuits that they brought it back for, like, Star Trek the Animated Series. And that's what revived Star Trek, was that fan interest, Star Trek the Animated Series. And they're like, oh man, people really like this. I guess we should make a sequel series and movies once that became a big success. Let's do some more TOS movies with, everyone that's kind of moved on and done movies now. And if it was not for those conventions, and also Lucille Ball, because she was like, oh, you should make this Star Trek show. And she famously saved a lot of shows back in the day with NBC. That while she was starring in some too, she was also a big producer and managed to get a lot of shows greenlit that were big cultural hits. The fan conventions like saved sci-fi on TV as we know it, which would then obviously morph into your Battlestar Galacticas, your Star Wars itself would take some cues from like in terms of now it's into its television era, Stargate, Farscape, Babylon 5, like all these sci-fi shows, the butterfly effect of if it didn't happen, if it never came back after those 3 episodes or those 3 seasons,
right?
The world itself would be different in weird ways, and so I really thought that they handled the fan convention without poking fun at the fans too much. Obviously, there's some jokes with Justin Long, but it's like they're vindicated because they're right. It is real,
right?
I thought that was a really, really fun, kind of tie-in, especially with the callback with the I know someone that does when he has the communicator. Like,
right,
that was a
like
great.
That's just such a good setup moment too. It's like, oh, he accidentally switched the communicator with the kid. Oh, it makes it so that they don't believe him. And then you forget about that until like later on in the movie, and then they're just like,
Oh yeah, we're in the movie now.
I think I know someone. Oh right, that happened, and they set it up, and I believe it, and it makes sense. It doesn't make sense how he responds without pressing a button, but
Yeah. Hey, voice activation's a thing.
it's true. That's true.
Or, noise gates aren't that much different.
Just a constant hot mic. That would suck.
Yeah, especially when it's in a teenage boy's bedroom.
Yeah.
Nah, it has a thing where it like connects to your brain, so it knows you're trying to communicate.
Ah, gotcha.
Gotcha. Yep. See,
There
one
we
step
go.
ahead. One
Sci-fi.
step ahead.
That's the great thing about sci-fi. It can always be explained by it's sci-fi.
Mm-hmm. That and another. I love all the other bits of Star Trek kind of lampooning, like Sigourney Weaver's character just kind of being there to look pretty, kind of like Marina Sirtis in the original TNG early seasons.
Mm-hmm.
Before she even gets she literally doesn't even have a uniform. It's so stupid. It's so dumb, and it's not until they bring in a famously hard-ass captain with I think it's Captain Jellicoe. I think that's the episode it's like midway through, Picard gets sent on this mission, and then this new captain comes in and he just fucks up the ship. But in hindsight, he's actually right about absolutely everything. And he's like, yeah, why isn't your counselor wearing a uniform? Is she not a Starfleet officer? That's stupid. Wear a uniform. Because she was mad that she didn't get to wear one. She wanted to. Like, those kind of stories about how just things were really weird with making TV back then. And the name of Sam Rockwell's character was based on a Star Trek extra, like recurring kind of red shirt guy who would always either like die or get injured, and his name was Guy in the show. Or maybe the actor's name was Guy, and that's where his name comes from.
That's awesome.
That was
Guy Fleegman.
That was so fantastic. This was my introduction to Sam Rockwell as a kid. Was this movie? Man, and he didn't even want to do it. He was like, I don't want to. I want to be more of a dramatic actor.
Right.
And yeah, and then he was like
this was definitely my introduction to him as well, but I will retroactively, I'd seen him in his first ever
what did he start
on
with?
screen? The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles
live action
movie.
He's in that.
He was one of the Foot Clan members.
Yeah.
Anything you wanted, we got it. He's the one who says, "Hey kids, you want drugs? We got drugs."
I knew you'd pull that. I knew you would.
I love that. That's his first thing that he was in, and that I remember that, and it's like I'll never be blown away by the fact that Justin Hammer is also a Foot Clan member.
That's true. Before we get into some wrap-up stuff, Joey, what are your thoughts on Galaxy Quest?
We've covered everything.
We've been talking a lot.
No, honestly, I forgot how funny it was. Like, the comedy and the punches are, like, really good, really smooth, well delivered, and, like, they really don't miss a beat when it comes to that. So, I don't know, I have to put this in, like, probably top 10 comedies for me. I was, like, finding myself chuckling at shit, which is, like, I don't know. There's actually, everything about the movie's pretty solid, not gonna lie.
Just the scene where they get to the ship for the first time, and it's like they see them without their form changers or whatever, and then I don't think it was scripted. Sigourney Weaver did not know, but Sam Rockwell just lets out the longest blood-curdling scream, and you can see Sigourney Weaver just go, like she really just did not know what was happening, and it's just so perfect. Like, it's just the thing that makes it so funny is that it's got American humor, and it also has that British humor. It has the dry humor, and it has the in-your-face humor. You have that one scene where they go to Tim Allen's house, and like he's looking for his shoe, and he goes down, and you can see from their angle, you can visualize it in your mind, and the guy is just like, being in your presence is the most gratifying, and he just becomes even more overwhelmed as you can just picture Tim Allen's butthole showing right at them, and it's just so funny. It's just so perfect in my eyes. I cannot think of a funnier movie than Galaxy Quest, in my opinion.
Yeah, it is
It's
a
so good.
genuinely perfectly constructed comedy film while also balancing like an actually good story too.
Yeah, that
Yes.
get away from it.
Yeah, I thought and like I'm pretty sure I would need to go back to an interview, but I remember McFarlane said he was using Galaxy Quest on top of his love of Next Generation for the genesis of The Orville, which was his sci-fi series on Fox/Hulu, which was along very similar lines of lampooning, but also paying homage to and having fun with the concepts of Star Trek in a new IP. And that one didn't have the conceit of it was a show. It was more just a different, IP altogether told through like a Star Trek kind of show motif. But it definitely had an impact on him because like the humor is very like, especially once they get on the ship and it's like there's a lot of very similar like cadences and callbacks and like just some shot structures and stuff that are like, yeah, very much like, yep, I could see where that would come from because it's definitely not shot like a Star Trek show. It's more just kind of shot like a fun frenetic sci-fi thing because there's a look to Star Trek. There's a pace, like the long tracking shots through hallways and so like way more technobabble than was in this movie. Like way more. Like over the top Doctor Who level, just throw words at a screen so it hits people's ears and like they just kind of go,
Right.
I guess that makes sense. Like this
And
didn't
then-
have
and
quite
then
that.
they can go explain it a few episodes down the line, or even a few seasons down the line.
Exactly. Yeah, and I really really enjoyed this movie.
It's so good.
Critics did too. I have some award stuff. This is much like obviously the last movie we watched for this show was The Godfather, one of the most award-winning movies of all time. This is not quite on that level, but when it comes to sci-fi, it's pretty close in terms of like being an award-winning, highly regarded piece of filmmaking. It actually won a Hugo Award, which is like for sci-fi literature, that's the thing, right? Like that's their Pulitzer. It won Best Dramatic Presentation in 2001. So their stuff it's a different cycle because I think they go like an 18-month cycle or something like that. It also won a few Saturn Awards, which are kind of like the Golden Globes, kind of deal. And it also won a Nebula Award for their script because the script's fantastic. Yeah, it won a bunch of stuff in the Saturn Awards, like Best Newcomer Performance, Best Best Actor, Script, visual effects, all that stuff. Because theirs are, kind of an amalgamation of like Kids' Choice Awards and like Golden Globes. They're kind of like they have a lot of crossover categories there.
Yeah.
And so I won a bunch there. But the Hugo Awards, like the standout for me, it was like, yeah, it's just a really, really well done piece of like just sci-fi, regardless of the medium. And it stands the test of time. 25 years later, quarter century later, it's still one of the greatest sci-fi movies ever made.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, you go back to last time that we watched The Godfather, a very defining movie for the gangster genre. And then you have Galaxy Quest, which is completely on the other end of the spectrum genre-wise, tone-wise. And you could make an argument that it is defining for its genre as well.
I think it redefined Star
Maybe
Trek.
Yeah, I mean, like even if it's more campy, more comical, maybe it's not the same level as The Godfather overall with technical achievements or just cinematic achievements, but for fun sci-fi comedy, just anything of that nerd culture in general, like it's so influential in all of that, and you can see it 25 years later where we're still watching it, we're still laughing about it, there's still talks about following up on it. Like it's
Yeah. Because like, yeah, you
it's an
compare
important movie.
like Star Trek: Strange New Worlds, which is one of my favorites. I think it's the best Star Trek series so far, top to bottom. It hasn't finished, so I don't know if it'll really beat Deep Space Nine, but
Mhm.
that show feels closer to that than it does Deep Space Nine in terms of tone. Like it's fun, it's light, but also still serious. Like
Yeah.
it manages to do both in a way Trek does not often do for its entire like show run. And post, this show and a few other sci-fi series that would change the game a little bit. For me, similar time, Farscape comes to mind. Chris,
Yep.
you would have you? How far are you in your Farscape watched?
I've watched one season on because I had it. It was free with ads on Prime,
It's on Tubi.
and then I went to the second season, and because I watched all of that like on my TV because we're going through a heat wave. I can't be in my office too much, or else I overheat. Like I'm sweating so much right now. But like I don't have Tubi on my PlayStation 4, so
Does your TV have it?
no, my TV's really old. My TV doesn't have apps. So but like once I'm back in my office, I'm able to like do work here and have something on in the background, like I'll probably jump on and continue season 2. But I think Farscape's great.
Yeah.
I love Farscape.
That
And,
era
like, I
had
was
a-
watching Galaxy Quest here, and I was just like, man, this reminds me of Farscape because it was like right around the same time, right?
Mhm. That and Babylon
Farscape was
5 were very.
2003?
Joey, were you more of a Babylon 5 guy? Did you ever watch that?
No.
You ever watch Farscape?
No. Yes.
Okay.
Farscape's really fucking good.
Farscape's fantastic.
It is.
And like
It is.
99, yeah, around that area, it's Stargate sequel series. You had Babylon 5, you had Farscape, you had 2 Star Trek shows, then soon to be Enterprise. This movie, and like, man, we were eating good with sci-fi in the late 90s.
Oh,
99 was popping because Farscape's 99 also.
Yep, that came out
Star
that
Wars
fall.
Episode 1.
Yep, that was just what was that? Was that 99?
It was 99.
Yeah, it's like that year had some stuff going on for sci-fi, yeah, that's definitely a really fun era for me to go back to and watch. Like I just rewatched the Deep Space Nine pilot last night, The Emissary. It's a good pilot.
And then Babylon 5, sorry to interrupt you, is 1994.
Yeah, that was the
So
right
damn,
just
like in that
before.
like 5-year time period, you had some
Yeah.
bangers.
A lot going on, a lot of fun stuff.
Damn.
Sadly, it's an era that's not going to get a lot of remasters because they weren't shot on film largely anymore. This movie, I believe, was. So, is there a 4K of this? I don't think so. I've never seen one.
Not.
But I also didn't know they were making a 4K.
Blu-ray.
Yeah, there is the Blu-ray. I have that. But like I didn't even know. Like earlier this year, I bought the 4K of Major League that I didn't know they were making. It came out like I just happened to be looking. Oh, it came out 2 weeks ago. What the heck? That was back in April.
really?
But, yeah, Major League's one of my favorites, and I bought it immediately.
Oh, I thought you were like, oh, this came out.
April
this came
2020.
out
It
on
did.
4.
It did in
4K.
April, and I was like, wait,
Oh, really?
when were they making this? How did I not know this?
Wow.
So I'm wondering, I would hope this movie's in the pipeline for Paramount of like, hey, we should make a 4K of this. It'd sell. I
It really
hope.
doesn't have a 4K
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
on the market.
Yeah. Because it's got such a cult following. They should do it.
Oh, dude, I didn't even realize young Tommy Laredo is played by Chicken Corbin Blue.
I don't get the reference.
Corbin Blue? He's
Understand.
from High School Musical.
Oh, well, that would be why. I've never watched any High School Musicals.
Here's the thing. I didn't either. I just know the name Corbin Blue because I like calling him Chicken Corbin Blue.
How much you think he gets that?
I don't know, but I hope
There's
I'm
one
the
person that
only
calls
one.
him that.
It's
He's in the
just
me.
podcast.
All right.
My only fear if they do a 4K is that there's been a lot of 4K. Some shows have been developing to get more to get film upgrade and stuff. They've been throwing into like an AI program that kind of does it instead of like manually doing it. There's been some bad films that have come out from like digitally remastered and stuff like that. Like Terminator's suffered from that, and some other movies. I can't think of the top of my head right now.
Just goes to show an artist is better than a computer when it comes to
Just manually doing
creating
stuff.
things.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think we're gonna wrap up here, but before we
yeah.
do, we need to pick our next movie.
Please be another banger.
Just right off the bat.
Let's go to the wheel spin page. I've got my list pulled up. That's Thomas, aka Mr. Wartburg. My list. I got about 225-ish movies in the list. Plus, there are more. That's just they're done by franchises. So
Be good.
let's
Be real good.
spin the wheel. It's spinning now. Round and round it goes, slowing down here. What are we gonna end up with?
Can you imagine if it's
Oh, a
Mary Staircoats?
newer movie. But honestly,
Ooh.
at this point, almost 10 years, which is crazy. Kingsman: The Secret Service.
Yo, Free Bird.
Dude, that is, oh yeah, I'm looking forward to that one.
What is that? Is that Edgar Wright? No.
No, that's Matt Vaughn.
That's Matt Vaughn. That's what it is.
Yep.
Yes,
Matt Vaughn.
we are starting off strong.
Yeah, we got some good stuff going.
Wow.
Oh man. All right. So our next movie is Kingsman: The Secret Service. We'll be back. We got to figure out the when, but stay tuned. I'll have it in the description for this video when you can expect the next one. But let us know what you thought of Galaxy Quest, or what you think we should maybe, if you have any comments on the show itself, because we're still figuring it out. We're feeling things out as we go. What's
Do
up?
we all own Galaxy Quest?
Oh yeah, I do.
No.
Joey
This is
doesn't
one I do
own
not
it.
own. I don't even own it. Don't even have it ripped. Yeah.
So the other question is, do we want to hunt down for the steelbook for you? Because the
Oh, if I
the,
can find it, fuck
the
yeah.
steelbook is better than the Blu-ray I've got, because the steelbook has all the extra features and commentary and stuff that the DVD has
Mhm.
that they took out for some stupid reason. I don't understand it for the Blu-ray. I hate when studios do this.
Yeah.
I hate it. Like, it's already produced content. You're not making a cheaper disc. The bits are not that much expensive. They don't cost that much. Why you got to strip them out when you're making a Blu-ray? I don't understand it. But yeah, I hate it, because I think I got it for like a $5 movie when I bought the Blu-ray. But the steelbook's what you want if you're gonna buy it.
Okay.
But we'll have to go hunting, because we're gonna do our thrift store hunt, which we'll probably be doing a few times a year as people rotate stock in and stuff. But I'll add that to the list, Joey. We'll put it on your buy
Yeah.
list.
Galaxy Quest.
Great movie.
Heck yeah.
Absolute, like, that's going on the top shelf of like favorite movies.
Oh,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
This definitely like falls in the category of like, if I wanted to collect it, 110% want to collect it.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Like I would if I had like a 4K, or even now I only have like we were watching the DVD tonight. Like it's literally
Yeah.
the
Look
big
great.
box, not the small box stuff. Like I want to like look for the Blu-ray or the steelbook.
Yeah.
Like,
Absolutely
it's
worth
definitely on my radar. I would love to get that because it's just one of the best movies out there.
Agreed. Well, we're gonna get out of here. Everybody, let us know what you thought of the movie, and we'll see you on our next episode for Kingsman: The Secret Service.
We're starting strong. Yes. You fly, free bird, yeah.